The Town Mouse and the Country Mouse. A town mouse once went to visit her cousin out in the country. The country mouse served her seeds, roots, and acorns, and cold creek water to drink. That night they went to sleep under a bush. The next day, the town mouse said to her cousin, "You cannot possibly be happy living like this. Come to the city and you will see how much better life can be." So the country mouse followed her cousin to a large house in the city. They entered the dining room and saw the remnants of the owner's feast. The country mouse couldn't believe her eyes. There was cheese and meat and fruit and sweets, but just as she was about to take a bite, she heard a growling noise. "Uh-oh," said the town mouse. Massive dogs burst through the door. The two mice ran underneath a teacup just in time. They hid there, trembling and scared, until the dogs went away. Then the town mouse said, "We can go back out to eat. I think the coast is clear." But when she looked over, she saw that the country mouse had packed her bags and put on her coat. "Goodbye, cousin," said the country mouse. It is better to live a simple life in peace than a luxurious life filled with fear. The Ant and the Grasshopper. One warm summer's day, a grasshopper was merrily chirping and making music when he saw an ant walk by. The ant was struggling to carry a kernel of corn back to his nest. The grasshopper called to the ant, "Why are you working so hard? Come sing with me." "I'm storing food for winter," said the ant. "You should do the same." "Winter? Who cares about winter?" said the grasshopper. "There's plenty of food today." The ant continued with his work. The grasshopper continued to play. Then winter came. The grasshopper couldn't find food, and he had nothing saved. He was starving, so he begged the ant for a bite to eat. The ant told the grasshopper, "Since you spent all summer singing, you can dance to bed without supper." There's a time for work and a time for play. The Lion and the Statue. One day, a man and a lion were arguing over who was more powerful. The man claimed humans were more powerful because of their intelligence. To prove his point, the man pointed to a nearby statue of a man defeating a lion in combat. The lion just laughed. "That only proves that a man made that statue. If I made a statue, the lion would be the victor." There is more than one side to every story, and the moral depends on who tells it. With the help of Æsop's stories, Jaden became a successful and well-respected man, not just in business, but in life. He became a wiser and more generous person. He learned to treat others with respect. One day he said to Æsop, "I would like to reward you for your service. Ask me for anything, Æsop, and I will grant your wish." This time, Æsop did not hesitate. He told a story he'd probably wanted to tell his entire life. One day, a wolf was weak with hunger. A house dog saw the wolf and said, "Cousin, you'll die in the wild. Come work for my master. He'll feed you every day." The wolf was so hungry he agreed and followed the dog home. As they walked, the wolf noticed the fur on the dog's neck was worn away. "Oh, that's nothing," said the dog. "That's where my master chains me. You get used to it." "In that case," said the wolf, "goodbye, cousin. I would rather starve while I'm free than be well fed in chains." When Æsop finished speaking, Jaden fell silent. He thought for a long time. And then he granted Æsop's wish. For the first time in his life, Æsop was free. Soon, everyone had heard about the slave who was so wise that he had been set free. They went to him for help and advice. Æsop's stories were so memorable that they were told and retold in the streets. As the years went by, the masters grew old and passed away. Their wealth and lands were lost. Their names were forgotten. Æsop, too, eventually passed away, but his fame kept growing. His stories were repeated in homes and town squares for generations, for centuries, until one day someone gathered them together in a book and called them Æsop's Fables. It became one of the most popular books in history. And in its pages, Æsop, the boy who was born a slave, who told stories to escape, traveled further than any king and lived longer than any empire. He traveled across languages, countries, and continents. He traveled across 2,500 years of time to be here today. And now that you've heard his stories, he can travel for a while with you. The end. What's next?